Hello, everybody. It's your favorite once in every 6 month face. I came back from getting milk. I've returned. It's Nick, and I'm joined with, already off to a good start. I'm joined with a very good friend. We've seen him before here, Mr. James Kincaid. James, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Nick. I just feel like you step out, you say you're going to get a pack of cigarettes, and then, I'm back to therapy.
And I'm back, baby. I'm here. I'm here for you guys. Oh man, we're off to a good start. But I actually wanted to talk to James about something that I'm really looking forward to, which is a Friday, November 12th. West Coast Pro is putting on West Coast versus the World in South San Francisco at the State Room. Beautiful venue, and we'll get into that in a second. And some of the names on this card, like, you could build a national TV promotion around these names. It's baffling to think about. Carl Fredericks, Ray Horus, the Reno Scum, even like Bay Area legends, Vinnie Massaro, who's been wrestling since before I was born. You've got Dickinson and Jeff Cobb, AJ Gray. AJ Gray and Black Taurus. There's so many matches on this card that it baffles me to think about. It's just happening. Like, I'm just going to go watch it live. So I wanted to chat with you a little bit and break it down today, being that you are the play-by-play man for West Coast Pro.
Well, first of all, I super appreciate you bringing me on to talk about it, to talk about West Coast Pro Wrestling and West Coast Pro Wrestling, West Coast versus the World. And shout out to, you guys at PWU for rolling with me, because, I'll pull back the curtain just for a quick second to say what professionals you guys are and rolling with my technical difficulties, which, as an audiophile and a play-by-play guy, I was very stricken and sad that I put you guys through that. So I'm happy that we got this worked out. But I mean, you said it, man. The list of names that are coming to this show alone is staggering. What West Coast Pro Wrestling has been doing since its return has been nothing short of tremendous. I am so thrilled to have been a part and be a small part of what they are doing. I really, get amped for these shows. They really, West Coast, I think, stokes everybody's passion for pro wrestling in the Bay Area right now. And I know people come from all over to see what they're doing. I mean, I know you were there in the house. Suzuki and Daniel Garcia, I know we're here to talk about West Coast versus the World. The fact that happened is just insane. And the fact that I got to be there for that and be on the call for that was such an honor and a privilege. And it's not stopping. Scott at West Coast Pro Wrestling, he's like a shark. If he stops swimming, he'll die. So he basked in the afterglow of what we were able to put together with Suzuki coming to West Coast Pro. And then, he gets that twinkle back in his eye, and it's like, on to the next. What are we going to do next to top it? And you mentioned right off the top, you mentioned two names, Ray Horus and Carl Fredericks, which is a matchup, a big-time matchup that I am looking forward to. You look at Carl Fredericks, the Alpha Wolf, somebody that, I first saw him in All Pro Wrestling at APW, and you could see immediately when he came down from Reno that this guy was a star. He had all the makings, the BFD, Carl Fredericks, and then he goes to Japan. He goes to the dojo. He has to strip away all that style, all that flash, and learn, the Japanese style. Graduates the dojo, is now layered back in and become the Alpha Wolf. And it's been so cool to see his development. He is such a pro's pro. I wish that, I need to get like a studio team into the State Room for West Coast Pro Wrestling just to show how meticulous Carl is in his preparation every time. He gets very zen, and he has his sort of formula for how he prepares for his matches. And I've been lucky enough to sort of witness how he goes about his business. And it's different than a lot of the guys. He puts the headphones on, he centers his chi, he gets he's doing like the run around the arena. He's a pro's pro, and I'm such a fan of Carl Fredericks. And then on the other side, Ray Horus. I've never called a match of his before. I've been a follower of his for a long time. If you're not familiar with his work, You can catch him a lot of places. I was a huge fan of Lucha Underground, so Dragon Azteca Jr. The work that he did there under that moniker was spectacular, and so for him to come to West Coast, man, can't wait to see those two collide.
Hey man, if you're a big Lucha Underground fan, you're gonna like this card. Guys like Vinnie Massaro, the Ray Horus that you just mentioned. Who else? Jeff Cobb was in Lucha Underground.
Yes.
Like, oh boy, eat your heart out, former Lucha Underground fans.
Well, it's funny. This show in general is maybe the most aptly named West Coast show of all time because it's called West Coast versus the World. I think for a good reason. It has this. We've already had sort of an international flair with Rocky Romero coming onto the scene saying that he's going to start bringing his friends from Japan in, and boy, has he ever! And that's not stopping. More and more and more coming in. But this one not only has talent from Japan, it's got luchadors on the scene, and just all this really great mix that sort of is very representative of what San Francisco is all about anyway, and the Bay Area is all about. So I love that. And this West Coast versus the world, I love that mentality. Being my background, being in sports and everything, so a lot of the slogans in the locker rooms like just us, and like us versus everybody else. So like I vibe with that. I'm very much so on board with West Coast versus the world. I love it.
Absolutely. There's a match that I think it's the match I'm looking forward to the most. It's the match that sold me to the last. Well, it was one of the matches that sold me to the last West Coast Pro Show. Of course, the main match that told me was Suzuki being there, but this gentleman being there was like, I got to be there. I got to watch this live. It's AJ Gray and Black Taurus. AJ Gray is one of my favorite professional wrestlers on planet Earth. That man goes to the ring with the drive to kill a man, and I love that to death. Any man that comes out to Limp Bizkit, I have nothing but respect for. He is... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, he's the kind of wrestler that I would watch because I enjoy 1980s All Japan, and I really like watching guys like Hanson and Kawada just club dudes in the face. Fun fact, I was actually bummed out at the last West Coast Pro Show. He did not hit his lariat, and I was very upset. I was very upset at that.
Yeah, well, AJ Gray is sort of intimidation personified. Even to me, I go around and I take my notes, and I'm very diligent about my preparation and stuff, and I like to get with all the talent before the show and just sort of talk things out with them, pick their brain a little bit. And AJ Gray is so intense, just listening to him talk and stuff it's like, dude, this guy is as legit as they come, and doesn't really have an off switch, in my opinion. And that's why, he's only, he's the West Coast Pro champion, only the second champion in the history of the promotion. He defeated Hammerstone to win it, which was just a fantastic and such a big time moment.
Not only defeated Hammerstone, wasn't that like a very long championship reign? How long did that go? Like 924?
Almost. So he was the only champion in the history, and I know we didn't start with a champion, but yeah, it was an incredibly long and distinguished reign by Hammerstone, and it's AJ Gray, number one with a bullet, that put an end to it there. Man. And now it's off to the races. Our second champion is AJ Gray. And by the way, since we come back, if you have IWTV, which, by the way, if you can't attend West Coast Pro Live, get on IWTV. That's where you can hear me and Alyssa Marino on the call for West Coast versus the World. And go back into the archives and watch AJ Gray versus Steven Tresario, which Steven Tresario is a very underrated performer. He was not going to be a doormat for AJ Gray, and they went to war. And, Steven Tresario took a beating, AJ Gray took a beating. Even the official took a beating. It was a crazy, crazy match. So do yourself a favor, go back, take a look at that. And then Black Taurus, another guy that I have not gotten to call any of his matches yet. But you talk about you think about the juxtaposition, across the ring from another AJ Gray, Black Taurus. I am so looking forward to this. It has already been a sort of very exciting time for having a new champion, but I'm very interested to see how their styles sort of go together in the ring, what kind of war they're going to have. And I'm just looking forward to seeing Black Taurus in person and just what that's going to feel like.
Thank you. Oh man, when he started wrestling for Impact, I was sold based on, I don't know how this guy looks, but I need to figure it out. I need to watch him live. He just has this natural, it feels so like Southern wrestling of like, this guy just looks cool and I want to see him beat the shit out of people, and he's just a character and I love it. Oh man,
he's got a cool factor in spades for sure.
And the dude is, oh my god, he is such a hard-hitting wrestler. These two dudes are going to pummel each other.
Yeah, I can't wait. You know, two just super physical dudes in there, and like I already said, AJ Gray, scary guy, great champion, scary dude.
So I mentioned at the top of all of this, I mentioned a specific name who's been wrestling in the California, Bay Area scene for quite a long time, and it's Vinnie Massaro.
Yes, shout out Vinnie Massaro.
Yeah, shout out him, my man.
Head trainer at the West Coast Pro Wrestling Academy.
Genuinely such an entertaining guy to watch, and also a really, really fun guy to talk to, and just to kind of like, hey, how's it going? That was a very enjoyable match to watch, and just hearing his thoughts and hearing him talk. He's such the kind of guy that just wants to share wrestling love with people, and I love that. And he came out after his match at the last West Coast Pro Show, and he said, I would like a challenge. Like, I've been doing this for years. Give me someone. He said, New Japan, give me someone. Imagine this. Imagine Rocky Romero says, hey, I'm going to bring my friends. His first friend is Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I guess you bring the big guns immediately. His second friend is the scariest looking man I've ever seen. The man who I don't think has a neck, who I think might eat me if I look at him wrong, Tomohiro Ishii.
Yes.
This match is like two absolute goats just going, let's see which one of us is better. And that is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that this matchup is happening, that Vinnie is on, you know, he's come up on the wrong end, you know, several times here since West Coast Pros training. He has this incredible knack for putting his foot in his mouth, or his snoring elbow in his mouth, as it were. Oftentimes, great follow on Twitter, by the way, at Snoring Elbow, is Vinnie Massaro, but I think he is so criminally underrated. You know, you look at this guy's career, you talk about the fact that he's been going for so long. He's such a mainstay in the Bay Area and really all over. You know, he's wrestled in Lucha Underground. This guy has wrestled Jun Akiyama, Ultimo Dragon, Masala. He is incredibly accomplished. He's held pretty much every championship in the Bay Area almost, it seems. And he's done so many great things. Now he is the head trainer for West Coast Pro Wrestling, training the next generation. He's been doing this whole thing where he is very much so calling out the next generation, again, putting his foot in his mouth oftentimes. But now we're going to see him taking on Ishii. Just the physicality in this matchup, which seems to be a recurring theme at West Coast versus the World. But this one very well could take the cake in terms of physicality, because Vinnie is underrated at what he can dish out, and the extreme, just so passionate cult following of Ishii. I know the fans are going to be so fired up to see him show up at the State Room for West Coast Pro Wrestling, and I can already almost hear the reverberation of just the bone and flesh smacking. It's just the taste out of each other's mouths. It's going to be something to behold at West Coast versus the World. It's going to get ugly at times, but it's going to be a fun train wreck to watch.
Absolutely. Both of these guys are going in wanting to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And
I know you're such a fan. Like, for Ishii to follow up Suzuki, I mean, just God, what can you say about that?
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see just the ability that West Coast Pro has to make me care about wrestling again, and to really make me be like, I want to go watch wrestling, and I want to, like, the crowd there. I mean, I was sitting in there, and the people in front of me were like, we were all just chatting it up. We were all having a good time, and the atmosphere was great, and West Coast Pro puts on that and then just brings Minoru Suzuki.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Just bring in the guy that was like Pancrase God. Bring in Ishii. Who knows? Like, I'm so afraid of who's next. I'm so afraid of my wallet.
I mean, that's the thing. We keep ramping it up, and yeah, I mentioned it already. Like, but the ability of West Coast to sort of stoke an already passionate wrestling fan, which I will always consider myself a fan of pro wrestling, and to bring in somebody at the level of Ishii, somebody I just have so much respect for, and what he has done in his career it's incredible. And so I'm very much so looking forward to calling Ishii and Massaro. And I think, for anybody watching and listening that has not seen Vinnie work, you're in for a treat too.
You absolutely are. Absolutely. Please tune into that IWTV stream.
Yes,
definitely
absolutely.
be doing that. If not for Phenomenal Wrestling, for this sultry little voice over here, for this guy,
little cherub-cheeked commentator.
Oh, that's him. But that's Ishii's not the only New Japan gentleman on this card. We have a gentleman who absolutely tore it up in the G1, and he's going to go up against what I assume a brick wall would look like if it was like created into a human being, in Chris Dickinson. Jeff Cobb and Chris Dickinson. We talked about AJ Gray and Black Taurus being a match about physicality. Talked about Vinnie Massaro and Ishii. This match might have someone leaving in a stretcher, I think.
So, I mean, you talk about a dream match. Look no further than the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson and Jeff Cobb. And, I talked earlier about how AJ Gray is intimidation personified. When I look at the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson, I look at intensity personified. He is larger than life with how intense he is. He might not be, the tallest guy on the roster or, the most jacked guy on the roster. He's certainly in fine physical conditioning, don't get me wrong. But where he really jumps off the page and off the screen is with that intensity. He reminds me of Roger Clemens on the mound, because if you used to watch Roger Clemens pitch, steroids and all that stuff aside, but watching him actually pitch and just sort of, you could see it on the mound. Go back and watch. He physically made himself almost seem bigger with how he fired himself up on the mound. And I see that same sort of demeanor and intensity from Chris Dickinson, and it's paid off for him. He during the MVP of pandemic wrestling, in my opinion, is the Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. I don't think there's anybody that accomplished or did more, really, in my estimation. And he's the first United Wrestling Network World Champion now, and he is now making his return to West Coast Pro Wrestling. It was a great surprise when you were in the house to see him wrestle last time, and now he's back. Yeah, now he's back to take on Jeff Cobb, who, like you said, had a pretty much unprecedented G1. Has done so much, another Bay Area mainstay, and has had success everywhere he's gone. He was in Lucha Underground, shout out Matanza, and has had so much success everywhere he has gone, and he really is he's this meteoric star right now. So for Dickinson and Cobb to collide at West Coast Pro Wrestling, like I said, dream match of dream match, thrilled to see it go down.
I'm super excited to see this go down, and it's nice to know too that these aren't just the kind of shows that are you gotta be there to see it. Nah, man, you can just watch this. James, one more time, let them know where can I watch this? How?
I appreciate you. Absolutely. Like, first of all, I love the West Coast Pro fans that are in the house at the State Room.
Oh, yeah.
I think that, they are a testament to how great Bay Area wrestling fans are, how great Bay Area sports fans are. I love interacting with y'all in person. So if you're seeing this, feel free to come up, say hello, chat it up with me and Alyssa Marino during the breaks and stuff like that. We appreciate and adore all of you. But if you can't make it in person, And you want to hear some commentary on these matches. Even if you do go first, you want to watch it later. IWTV, you can catch me and Alyssa Marino on the call for West Coast versus the World, Friday, November 12th. It is, in the words of one of my idols, Gorilla Monsoon would say, it is going to be a happening. It's can't miss. Like all the shout out Yuya Uemura and Levi Shapiro as well. That is one that could very well steal the show. And so many other great performers that you're going to see. You will not regret watching this show in the least. Again, come attend in person if you can. Watch it on IWTV, and interact with us online. It's I'm so fired up for this show, and just everything that is going to be coming down the line for West Coast Pro Wrestling.
There's so much that I'm looking forward to at this show, and I'm sure I'm going to be leaving looking forward to so much more. Like, I'm sitting there, and the ring announcer announces, hey, by the way, Ishii's showing up. Anyway, enjoy 3 more matches. I'm like...
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing, too. Is that we do a very good job of letting you know, like, hey, come on back. Because if you think tonight's cool, you're going to see some more stuff next time as well. We always leave the appetite still there.
James, I want to say thank you so much for finding some time to talk about West Coast versus the World, as if we needed to find the time, as if this isn't all we talk about.
Well, I always appreciate coming on here with you and with Tim, and like any time you guys want to talk West Coast, I'm your man. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the stateroom.
Yeah, absolutely, and please plug anything to plug. Go ahead.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at James Kincaid. That's Kincaid. I think it's in the little lower third there as well with the traditional Scottish spelling. So that's at James Kincaid on Twitter, at the James Kincaid on Instagram. And hit me up. Like, I'm always happy to chat and everything like that. Really, got pulled aside by somebody that told me how much they appreciate my professionalism, my approach to it, and stuff like that. And that's not to put myself over. That's to put the good fans of West Coast and pro wrestling over. That I sincerely appreciate all of that. Whether it's positive feedback or constructive criticism, I love it all. And as we end here, I just wanted to say if you can. Go buy some of Starboy Charlie's merchandise. He suffered a gruesome leg injury. Juicy Finau is stepping in for him at West Coast versus the World. But Starboy Charlie, so young, such a bright career ahead of him. It was absolutely gutting to see and to hear that he, suffered that injury. But I know that the wrestling community is rallying around him. And I encourage you all to continue to do that, because Starboy will be back in a big way, and you can help him do that as he's going through this hard time right now. So we love you, Starboy Charlie, and
he's Bay Area through and through. He's a Bay Area man through and through, and I can't wait for him to come back. That's going to be a lot of fun. James, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for once again allowing me in. I'm going to step out and grab some milk. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.